Then, something incredible happened. Vines and roots began to creep across the ground and entangle the arms and legs of the orcs, holding them in place. They struggled, but were held steadfast. I twisted and cut the rope with my dagger, dropping to the ground in a crouch. Chevalier was beside me in a moment, and we executed each orc where they laid, held by the vines and roots. I could feel the presence of my goddess as I watched the roots recede back into the ground. "Thank you, goddess," I whispered. I knew then my cause was blessed, and she was watching over me. Morix and Corbin had already dispatched the 3 orcs that laid beside what was their fire. Not a sound had been made, other than the stifled gurgles of them dying. "Bogab is just over that ridge," I pointed. I could see it from the top of the outcropping. "We still have the advantage of surprise," said Morix. "I believe we will need that surprise, as there are only 5 of us and 200 or more of them," the wizard said, as he was looking over the dead. Corbin was dashing around, searching the bodies. "A halfling would starve Robin orcs. They never have anything good on them." He held up a brown apple core he had just pulled from the pockets of one of the dead orcs. "We not here for coin. We here to stop prophecy," chided Chevalier. "You might be, but I am here for fame and fortune. The bards will know my name, Corbin Lightfoot, King of Aragon, Destroyer of Orcs, Thwarter of the Gods, Savior of Kinther," he proclaimed, raising his chin up with his chest puffed out. Chevalier rolled her eyes. "More like Destroyer of Patience," I said. Chevalier howled with laughter. "Do we all know the plan?" Morix eyed each one of us. "Yes, and I believe as long as we don't deviate from it, we should be safe," I announced. "Let us make this outcropping the rallying point. If we get into trouble, we meet here, and I will crystal us out," said Olmir. We all nodded and started our hike over the ridge, where we found ourselves overlooking the village. Besides the large round hut, there were 5 clusters of smaller huts around it. "We only have 4 bombs, so we need to make them count. After the initial confusion is over, the orcs that are left will rally and come after us. Once they get close enough to us, we can pick them off with arrows and spells before we have to engage by sword and glaive," I instructed. "What do I get to do?" inquired the rogue. "Corbin, you will have to wait until the cleanup when we go down into the village. Understand?" I asked. He folded his arms over his chest. I could see the defiance start to creep into his features. I kneeled down and put my arm around his shoulders. "We are trying to keep a safe distance until we kill the majority of them. Your talents lay in the up-close work. Promise me you will stay with us until we all go down into the village. I am really going to need you then," I pleaded. He began to protest, but I held up my hand. "We can't have our king killed by the orcs." A look of surprise flashed on his face, and then smugness settled in.
"True. I should stay where it's safest. You all need me."
He relented. "Yes, Aragon wouldn't be the same without its king," I placated. He nodded his head and took a seat on a rock, looking as regal as possible.